I dated Lisa for 4 years. We met during college, and those years were filled with wonderful memories. After graduation, however, cracks started to show in our relationship. Lisa came from a wealthy family, and while I was determined to build my future and focus on paying off student loans quickly, she became frustrated with the modest lifestyle I could afford. She disliked the small apartment we rented, resented that I couldn't take her on luxurious vacations, and over time, it became clear that I wouldn't be able to give her the lifestyle she had always imagined. Eventually, Lisa told me she didn't see a future with me, and we broke up 2 years ago. Although it hurt, I understood her reasons. She wanted more from life, and I didn't want her to settle for something she'd resent. After the breakup, we stayed friends for a few months, occasionally meeting up since we had many mutual friends. Despite my feelings for her, I knew our lives were heading in different directions, and maintaining a close connection wouldn't help either of us move on. Things became easier when Lisa started dating someone new, a family friend named Jason. I met Jason at a couple of events. While he was polite to me, I avoided situations involving both of them, focusing on my work and eventually moving to a new city. I lost touch with Lisa and heard through friends that she had married Jason 6 months ago. I wasn't invited to the wedding, but I wished her well and thought it was time to move on fully. 3 weeks ago, seemingly out of nowhere, I received a call from an unknown number. To my surprise, it was Lisa. The conversation started with small talk. She asked how I'd been, told me about the new house she and Jason had bought, and caught me up on her life. I told her about my new city, my job, and my life since we'd last spoken. The call lasted around 20 minutes, and while I found it odd, I figured she might just have been thinking about our old friendship and reached out of curiosity. The next day, Lisa messaged me again, sharing pictures of her new house. I complimented her, thinking that would be the end of it. However, 2 days later, she called me again, saying she was driving and wanted to chat to pass the time. We talked about my new life and friends, even gossiping about mutual acquaintances. After that, the contact became frequent. Over the next 2 weeks, Lisa began calling almost daily, sending TikToks, memes, and initiating conversations. At first, I thought she was just trying to be friendly, but as it continued, I began to feel uneasy. I started ignoring some of her calls, but she kept reaching out, saying she just wanted to talk during her free time. While I enjoyed catching up initially, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Lisa was now married. Should she really be talking to her ex so often? I began wondering if she was unhappy in her marriage or just lonely. The situation made me uncomfortable, and I wasn't sure if I was reading too much into her actions. Last Friday, I finally messaged her, telling her that it didn't feel appropriate for us to talk so often given her marital status. She responded immediately, saying there was nothing wrong with being good friends and that it was perfectly normal for us to chat. I didn't feel the same way, so I told her we needed to stop communicating, at least for a while, so I could focus on work. After that, I blocked her number. Blocking Lisa caused some drama. She called our mutual friend Jess, crying about how I had been rude, and cut her off without any warning. Jess told our other friends, and soon I started receiving messages from some of them, saying I was being unreasonable and should have handled the situation better. I tried to explain my side, but no one seemed to understand why I felt uncomfortable. I couldn't comprehend how they didn't see that it was inappropriate for Lisa to be reaching out to her ex so frequently while married. Was I the one missing something? Or were my instincts right all along? After my initial post, things took an unexpected turn, and I wanted to share an update because many of you asked what happened next. When Lisa learned I had blocked her, she begged Jess to convince me to talk to her one last time. At first, I refused, but eventually I agreed, thinking it would give us both closure. Lisa called me on a Saturday morning, and as soon as I picked up, I could tell something was wrong. She sounded distressed, and it took a while to calm her down enough for her to tell me what was going on. She confessed that after we broke up, her mother encouraged her to give Jason a chance, believing he was a right match for her. Jason came from a wealthy family, and everything seemed perfect on the surface. He took her on extravagant vacations and provided the lifestyle she had always wanted. However, beneath the perfect image, Lisa admitted that things weren't as rosy as they seemed. She told me that she felt trapped in her marriage and didn't know if she could trust anyone around her, including Jason. She hinted that there were deeper issues in their relationship that she wasn't ready to discuss, but she needed someone she could talk to. That's why she had reached out to me. After hearing Lisa out, I felt conflicted again. On one hand, I understood that she was going through a difficult time and needed support. On the other hand, I knew that maintaining contact with her could blur boundaries and make things even more complicated, especially since she was still married. I haven't unblocked her since that conversation, and I'm not sure what to do next. Part of me feels guilty for shutting her out when she needed someone, but I also believe that getting involved in her life again, given our history, would only make things worse for both of us. Many of you said in my original post that I wasn't wrong to block her, and that I shouldn't let myself get pulled into her problems. But now that I know more about what's happening in her marriage, it's harder to stick to that decision. Am I still doing the right thing by staying no contact with Lisa? Or should I have kept the lines of communication open, at least as a friend? And why do I still feel so guilty, even though I know setting boundaries was the right thing to do? When Lisa and I were together, she didn't have to worry about financial matters like loans or money. I always made sure things were taken care of. However, after she married Jason, things took a troubling turn, and their seemingly grand wedding was followed by a rapid decline in their relationship. Lisa confided in me that everything started to unravel not long after the wedding. One night, while she was hanging out with Jason's friends at a party, one of his college friends started flirting with her and crossed a boundary by touching her inappropriately. Lisa was shocked and immediately went to Jason, expecting him to step in and confront the friend. But Jason, who was drunk at the time, dismissed her concerns. Instead of supporting her, he told Lisa to lighten up and enjoy the party. His reaction hurt her deeply, as he not only ignored her distress, but normalized the inappropriate behavior. As the months went by, Lisa uncovered more disturbing details about Jason and his circle of friends. She found evidence that Jason and several of his friends were involved with drugs, and what troubled her even more was learning that Jason had been unfaithful. Lisa discovered that Jason had slept with the wives of many of his friends, and to her dismay, this was treated as normal behavior within their social circle. She began to suspect that Jason's infidelities had started during their dating period and had likely continued after they got married. When Lisa confronted Jason about the affairs and drug use, instead of showing any remorse, Jason got angry. He dismissed her concerns, accusing her of being too uptight and overreacting. The situation between them became increasingly toxic, and although Lisa hinted at some instances of harmful or abusive behavior, she avoided sharing too many details about those incidents. Lisa wanted to leave Jason but felt trapped. She reached out to her mother, hoping for support. However, instead of encouraging her to leave, her mother told her it was too early in the marriage to give up. She advised Lisa to try harder to make Jason happy, suggesting that if Lisa made more effort, Jason wouldn't feel the need to seek attention from other women. This advice left Lisa feeling even more isolated. She felt she couldn't talk to any of her mutual friends because they all liked Jason. He was generous with money, paying for their parties, dinners, and outings, which made him well-liked in their circle. Lisa feared that if she shared the truth, no one would believe her or support her. As a result, she became overwhelmed with loneliness and hopelessness. That's when she secretly reached out to me through a burner phone, apologizing for dragging me into her problems. She confided that she felt stuck and desperate. Jason controlled their finances, so she didn't have access to her cards or accounts, and she couldn't trust any of her friends back home, worried that Jason might find out about her plans. Lisa asked if I could help her buy a plane ticket to my city, so she could get away from Jason and figure out her next steps. Angered by everything Lisa had been going through, I agreed to help her immediately. I bought the ticket without sending her any details through email to avoid Jason finding out. Instead, I gave her the confirmation number verbally so she could board the flight without raising suspicion. Once she packed her things and reached the airport, Lisa flew to my city and has been staying in my guest room ever since. As expected, all hell broke loose once Lisa called her parents and friends to tell them she had left Jason and was staying with me. She explained to them the reasons behind her decision, but no one seemed to take her seriously. Instead, they assumed that we were having an affair and that Lisa had left Jason for me. Jason was furious. He demanded that Lisa return home, saying their marriage was over if she didn't. His parents also got involved, calling Lisa and pleading with her to come back and discuss things calmly. Her father refused to speak to her entirely, while her mother flew to my city so we could all meet in person. During the meeting, Lisa shared the painful experiences she had endured with Jason, but her mother seemed more concerned about the family's reputation than Lisa's well-being. Her indifference to Lisa's suffering was infuriating. Despite the pressure from her family and friends, Lisa is resolute about her decision to leave Jason. She has been actively looking for a lawyer to initiate divorce proceedings and has cut off all contact with Jason. He initially sent her a series of threatening messages, trying to intimidate her into coming back. However, the messages abruptly stopped, likely because someone advised him not to send anything that could be used against him legally. Since then, Jason has maintained complete silence. Lisa has now been staying with me for a month. She offered to pay me rent, but I told her to focus on saving money for the legal fees she might need, especially since it seems her parents may not offer her any financial support. For now, she is trying to rebuild her life, free from Jason's control, while preparing for the difficult road ahead with the divorce. You're in an emotionally complex and difficult situation. You're helping Lisa, an ex-partner, who has left her husband, Jason, under troubling circumstances. Many of your mutual friends do not believe Lisa's account of what happened, and they have either stopped talking to both of you or removed you from their social circles. Some even believe that Lisa and you are having an affair, which adds to the emotional burden. The situation has left Lisa deeply affected. She was once a vibrant, joyful person, but now she looks emotionally drained, often bursting into tears despite trying to keep a brave face. You suspect she hasn't told you the full story of what Jason did to her, but you are giving her the space she needs, choosing to be a supportive friend. At the same time, you are conflicted about the role you now find yourself playing. Lisa, though separated, is still technically married, and you're worried about the moral implications of her living with you. You don't want to be seen as a homewrecker or be accused of getting involved with a married woman. However, given the circumstances and how suddenly everything happened, you didn't have much time to think things through. You want to do the right thing by providing her with a safe space, but you're unsure if what you're doing is ultimately the best approach. Some important context you provided sheds more light on the situation. When Lisa left Jason, she left her main phone at home because Jason was tracking her movements. You explained that Jason had become paranoid, monitoring her phone and accounts, suspecting that Lisa might leave him. She didn't initially want anyone to know where she was hiding, but you convinced her to at least contact her parents to let them know she was safe. Otherwise, they might have gone to the police and filed a missing person report. Lisa didn't reach out to your mutual friend Jess or anyone else for help because, according to her, she didn't trust any of your shared friends. You mentioned that Jason has been spreading damaging rumors, painting a very different picture. He is accusing Lisa of using him for financial gain and claims she married him with the intention of divorcing him after 6 months, just long enough to qualify for substantial alimony. As a result, many of your friends have sided with Jason, believing his version of events and distancing themselves from you both. This betrayal by your friends makes the situation even harder for Lisa, especially since she chose to come to you for refuge in order to put physical distance between herself and Jason before breaking the news to him that she was leaving. You made it clear that your relationship with Lisa is not romantic. She has sought your support purely as a friend. You understand how vulnerable she is right now and just want to help her through this difficult time. That said, you recognize that having her live with you is not a permanent solution, and once things calm down, you will need to help her find another arrangement. Fortunately, You have a well-paying job and can afford to support her for a little while, but you are aware that she cannot stay with you indefinitely. From here, you're taking things one day at a time, but you're very conscious of how complex the situation is. You're trying to balance being a good friend with making sure you don't get entangled in unnecessary drama, especially given that Lisa's marriage hasn't been legally ended yet. You know that there's still a lot of emotional and legal baggage that Lisa will need to sort through, and at some point, she'll need to face those challenges on her own. In response to the comments you've received, there seems to be a mix of sympathy and criticism. One commenter appreciates that you stepped in when no one else did and admires your decision to support Lisa through such a difficult time. They express frustration with how your friends seem to prioritize their reputation over Lisa's well-being. However, another commenter argues that Lisa shouldn't be living with you because it could complicate things further. They caution that even though Lisa's story might be true, there's also a possibility she is leaning on you emotionally in a way that isn't sustainable. This commenter suggests that Lisa should focus on legally ending her marriage and dealing with the consequences of that before involving herself too deeply with you again. They point out that the issues that led Lisa to leave you in the past might still exist, and that it's crucial for her to resolve her current situation without relying too heavily on you. Ultimately, it seems that your intentions are good, but this is undeniably a tricky situation. You are doing your best to support someone in need, while also trying to make sure you don't compromise your own emotional well-being or get caught up in unnecessary drama. The path ahead is uncertain, and there's no perfect answer to whether what you're doing is right or wrong. Only time will tell.